Hello? Testing? Can you hear me? Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hello, people in my computer. I hope the Song of Unhealing is treating you well, weakening you for the stories to come. Yes, hello, it is me, Guy. How does it feel to be trapped in my PC tower? Anyway, today's gonna be an interesting stream. I wanted to try something quite different. I really wanted to try branching off into the ASMR market, but I wanted to start with something a little more ironic, I guess you could say, because we're gonna be reading, you know, if you don't know what a creepypasta is a short or long form story written for an internet audience, which is then taken and copied and pasted to other places, and it's spread around, and then people read it and they either like it or they don't. I'm gonna be reading a bunch of creepypastas, but I'm only gonna be reading the bad ones. And I want to try and maybe even make this a series. I think this would be fun. But, you know, we'll start things easy. Read the blood whistle. I will do that next time. It's way too long for me to read this stream. I've got a set number that I'll read out for you tonight, but blood whistle is for sure on the list. 'Cause it's really bad. However, I think you will like my list of creepypastas for tonight. Now, for those of you in the Discord server, I told you I have a little surprise for you all. Now, get ready for this. Watch this. Ah, look at me. I got an avatar. So you can kind of have a little bit of visual stimulation. So it's a little less boring to look at your screen. Sorry I can't put any Subway Surfers on, but hopefully this suffices. Blah! I think this is pretty cool. This took me like 15 minutes to set up max, so... I know, scary queer on your screen. Get him away! I think this is the scariest thing tonight. Alright, but without any further ado, I think we should move on to our first creepypasta. Let me set the mood, shall we? Who was phone? So, with honey, and you're making out when the phone riggins. You answer it, and the Vios is, "What are oo doing with my daughter?" Oo tell oor girl, and she say, "My dad is dead." Then who was phone? Ah! How'd you like that? That's so scary, right? I wanted to start off with a dud, but it's a classic. Who was phone? I don't know. It's one of life's biggest mysteries. I think that one was great. I think that one is the best one that we'll read all night. However, I think it's time we take things a little seriously. And we read Red Mist. Red Mist begins. Excuse me. How's the audio levels, by the way? Is the music picking up much? Or at least the ambience? It's good. Okay. Just making sure. Red Mist. Description of the tape. Red Mist begins with Squidward Fuck. Music is audible but a bit quiet. I'll turn it up a bit. I'll take that as my opportunity to mess with the volume. Okay, how's this? With my speaking voice and the music in the background. Everything matched? I think so. I think this works. Okay, for like the third time. Red Mist. Description of the tape. Red Mist begins with Squidward preparing to practice his clarinet in his room as SpongeBob and Patrick play merrily outside. Squidward wraps his mouth around the clarinet and is only able to play one note before being interrupted by someone knocking on the door. He walks down and opens the door and discovers that a traveling salesman is at his door. The salesman, a Scottish fish, asks if he could have a moment of Squidward's time. Squidward tells him that he isn't interested and slams the door in the man's face. Walking back to his room, the salesman begins knocking again, and Squidward opens the door angrily. The salesman, looking very upset, tells Squidward that the red mist is coming, and proceeds to walk off, confusing Squidward. Squidward walks back to his room and finally begins playing the clarinet. After performing several off-key notes, SpongeBob and Patrick begin laughing outside, interrupting Squidward yet again. Squidward walks over to the window and shouts at the two, telling them he needs to practice for a concert he will be performing at. SpongeBob and Patrick apologize with tears in their eyes and walk back to their houses. Squidward, unsure of himself, walks back over and begins playing his clarinet again, this time uninterrupted. The scene then fades to red over the course of 12 seconds. Perhaps by glitch, the same scene is repeated once more, which is somewhat common in rough cuts of animation. However, this time, the eyes have been replaced with new, more realistic eyes, with red pupils. Clearly not real, but more realistic than CGI or animated. The audio is also completely absent from this scene, save for occasional clicks. After the repeat of the previous scene, a new scene begins with the same red eyes, but at the theater where Squidward is playing his clarinet. The frames and the animation skip every 4 seconds, but the sound remains synced. After an unruly performance of a song he dubbed Red Mist, SpongeBob and Patrick are seen in the crowd, booing Squidward, very uncommon for them. The scene pans to reveal the same Scottish salesman sitting next to them, also booing, as Squidward walks back to his home with his head in his tentacles. What's odd is that the scene actually shows him walking to his house, with nothing happening in the background, for 3 minutes and 50 seconds before abruptly cutting to red for another 20 seconds, just as he arrives at his house. A new scene appears, back to the original cartoon eyes, with Squidward sitting in a chair in his room that night, with a blank look on his face for roughly 30 seconds before starting to sob softly. Again, the audio is completely missing for most of the scene, until the sobbing... Ooh, excuse me. Until the sobbing begins. This is when the sound of a slight breeze through a forest can be heard in the background. It also begins very mildly, zooming in on Squidward's face, only noticeable if you compare 10 seconds of frames side by side. The sound of him sobbing can suddenly be heard very loudly and severe as the screen twitches in on itself briefly. The salesman's laughing can also be heard echoing in the background. After another 30 seconds, the screen blurs and twitches violently, and a single frame flashes over the screen. Upon pausing it exactly on the frame, the viewer can see a real-life photo of a deceased 6-year-old boy lying in the forest in his underwear, whose face had been mangled, eye has been popped, and stomach cut open with entrails lying beside him. Next to him, the shadow of the photographer is clearly visible, with part of the photographer's hand appearing to the right of the screen. After this photograph is seen, it cuts back to Squidward sobbing, much louder than before, with what appears to be blood running from his eyes instead of tears, and the sound of the salesman still heard. The sound of the wind in the forest is also played at a much louder volume, but now with the sound of branches snapping and the screams of a young boy heard. After 20 more seconds, another single frame appears, this time of an 8-year-old girl in the forest, lying on her stomach in a pool of blood, with her back cut open and entrails piled on top. The shadow of the photographer is also visible. The scene reverts back to Squidward, now with the same realistic red eyes from before, completely silent and no longer sobbing. The sound of the forest can no longer be heard. Another 3 seconds later, and it cuts back to the sobbing, this time piercing loud, and with the sound of the forest heard. The screams of both a young boy and young girl can be heard mixed together as the song Amazing Grace plays on both the clarinet and the bagpipes. During this, 7 frames are seen in black and white of the boy from the first photograph, lying in the woods. Over the course of the 7 frames, the hand of the photographer reaches in and grabs the boy's entrails, as his remaining eye focuses on the man's hand and even blinks once. This cuts back to Squidward again, this time staring at the viewer as the sound of the salesman echoes, "Do it," and "The red mist is coming," repeatedly. After 40 seconds of this, the camera quickly pans out to reveal Squidward holding a realistic gun, looking as though it were photoshopped into the scene. Squidward lifts the barrel into his mouth and fires, with blood shooting out from his head. On November 7th, 2004, after the initial animation of the storyboards were completed in Fife, Scotland, the tape was delivered to the lead animators and sound editors at Paramount Studios in Hollywood, California, during the middle of the night. The tape was taken into the editing room where it was watched by said animators and editors, as well as 2 16-year-old interns. The tape, which was supposed to feature the rough cut of Fear of a Krabby Patty, instead began with a title card using the name Squidward's Suicide. While thrown off at first, the animators continued watching, discovering the tape had been heavily tampered with as some sort of cruel joke. As a result, 3 animators, Barry O'Neill, Grant Kirkland Jr., and Alyssa Simpson, were sent to the hospital. 1 editor retired, Fernando de la Peña, and 1 intern, Jackie McMullen, committed suicide. The tape was sent to the police, who determined that it had been made by Andrew Skinner, a disgruntled animator from Fife, Scotland, who has since been charged with 9 counts of murder, including the murder of the 2 children seen in the tape. Oddly enough, after going through the data on the VHS, police discovered that the last edit of the tape had been made exactly 24 seconds before it was watched by SpongeBob staff. One copy of the tape was made before police confiscated the original by Chaz Agnew, writer of this article and the sole surviving intern from that night. Agnew has made various attempts to distribute copies of Skinner's tape and hopes to secure clearance rights to release it on several online auction websites soon. Oh yeah, it sucks. It's really bad. You know, I didn't think it would be as bad as I thought it would be, but it was. I think my mind, when I first, you know, listened to the creepypasta on my own time, I think I kind of blocked out the whole fact that there was imagery of dead children and stuff. So this is weird reading and being like, why are they adding this? What's the deal? What's going on? I think it would have been a lot better without it, but it's not really that good of a story to begin with. Blood and gore of children. Ah, scary. That's what I'm saying. It's not that good. But neither are any of the others we're going to be reading tonight, so, you know, you kind of just got to brace for that. Well, that was Red Mist. I'm going to be working off a pattern with reading these. I'm going to go from well-known to slightly less well-known to troll pasta. So there will be a troll pasta in between every two quote-unquote genuine attempts at creepypastas. So, you know, hopefully that doesn't take you by too much surprise. But at some points, I will be reading stuff that was purposefully meant to be bad. Just to lighten up the mood, I guess, from dead children for no reason. Let me switch music. Excuse me. This story is called He Wants His Mama. That's what I'm saying. GTA 4 was never a game I really got into. I've always wanted to play, but never got the chance. But I definitely do not want to play it now. It all started a couple weeks ago. My friends and I were having lunch and talking about video games. The topic of GTA 4 that was brought up really seemed to spook my friend. "What's wrong?" I asked. "GTA 4, that's what's wrong," he replied. "What? Do you not like the game?" I said. He began to He began to describe to us this ghost kid that he found in GTA 4. I liked the generally creepy things, so while my other friends left, I listened. He told me that he had 2 occurrences of the ghost kid. What really caught me was that it was a ghost kid. I know for a fact that there are no kids in the game. If there were, the game wouldn't have been rated A, because you could kill children then. The game would have been rated A, because you could kill children then. Anyway, he told me his first interaction with the ghost kid was at the top of the tallest building in Liberty City. He said his character was walking around when he made a pushing motion, like the guy would if he was... What is going on? Excuse me. He said his character was walking around when he made a pushing motion, like the guy would if someone was in the way. But nothing was there. He then heard a kid say, "Ow!" His second occurrence happened on the street. He was riding a motorcycle around and saw one that was better than his. He went to go take it and there was no one on it, yet his character made the motion of shoving someone out of the motorcycle. He then said he heard the voice of the kids say, "You're mean." I found all of this really interesting, so I asked if I could come over and check it out myself. He said yes, and we went to his house. We played until 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and no sign of the ghost kid showed up. I started to think that my friend was lying, and we started to argue. We stopped around 9 o'clock when he went to bed, but I stayed up. I was reluctant, but I played GTA 4 again to see if he would show up. I started playing and grabbed a motorcycle. When I was driving around, a truck, which was going faster than it should, hit me. When I looked closely at it, there was no one in the driver's seat. It turned around and came back for me, so I ran into an alleyway. As I was walking down the alleyway, my character kept on making pushing motions on nothing. I then heard a voice say, "This cannot help you." I was creeped out and started to run the other way, but for some reason it went on forever. There was no end. I thought to myself that I was doomed, because as I ran, the ghost kid took a visible form and started chasing me. Demonic laughter started playing as I ran, and childish voices. I'm just reading it how it's spelled. Childish voices say, "You cannot escape." More ghost kids stuttered. Shit. More ghost kids stuttered showing up, and finally, my guy stopped moving. The laughter stopped, the voices stopped, and everything stopped. Except for one thing. The ghost kid. The ghost started walking up to me very slowly, but it was moving. I sat and watched in horror as it slowly came up to me and started talking. Oh, my dogs are barking. The ghost started walking up to me very slowly, but it was moving. I sat and watched in horror as it slowly came up to me and started talking. I couldn't understand some of it, but this is what I heard. Why? Why? Why did you do it? Why did you kill my mama? I just wanted my mama, but you killed her. Now you will pay. At that moment, the ghost kid grabbed my character's head and ripped it off. Spinal cord and all. I didn't want to see this, so I covered my eyes. But I couldn't help looking again. The game over screen appeared, but there was blood dripping, and the ghost kid's face was there, smiling demonically. I shut the game off then and turned off my friend's Xbox. My friend then woke up and asked what all the noise was about. I told him what happened. He just shook his head. "Dude, I made it up just to scare you." "No, it was real, I saw it," I replied. "Come on, you were just hallucinating because of a lack of sleep. Let's go to sleep." "Fine," I said. That night, I could not fall asleep. I was too shaken. I looked at my friend's posters of GTA 4 to help me go to sleep. And other normal things you do to fall asleep. I looked at my friend's posters of GTA 4. No one does that. I looked at my friend's posters of GTA 4 to help me go to sleep. But as I looked, the ghost kid started to appear in the posters. After that, I don't think I can ever sleep again. Oh my god, it's so bad. Oh Oh my god. You know, I really didn't think it would be that bad, but it was that bad. I really liked the part at the end where he looked at the posters to fall asleep as if he was like counting sheep or something. Well, I'm glad that one's over. This pasta was made in 2013. Just for those who wanted to know the general time frame in which this happened. Just in case. Yeah, what did you think about that one? I like the connection between creepypastas and kids. It's just real common if you think about it. If it's not scary enough, then just add a dead kid, I guess. Alright, we're moving on to our troll pasta. I have an idea. This bit's gonna take me a little bit, okay? Just let me do my thing. Today of all te blood. This is te best pasta on the whole wiki. Don't read to rest because to rest is not as creepy as this. Scientific studies proved this. This is true. This is the story of a day where there was all this blood. Music. I can't take this seriously. Okay. I got this. This is the story of a day where there was all this blood. A man was walking around and blood started coming out of him everywhere. There was so much blood that it filled up an elevator. He went to the store and there was just blood all over the place. People were slipping in it and they were all grossed out. He tried to go swimming and all of the sharks went nuts and bittened everybody. He got chased by all the vampires ever. One time the blood got a kid and a dog. At the end of the day, everyone decided they would just send him to space so that he would stop getting blood everywhere. The scariest part is that the man was you! Or he was a lady if you are a lady, and you forgot that this happened. I really like that one. I think that's the scariest one we've read all night. I don't know, we've got like 5 more to read, so... Or excuse me, 4 more. Oh my god, it's only been a half an hour? I can easily cram more creepypastas in. What was I thinking? Okay. I don't know, this one might just take a bit of time, so I think this one is to test the waters to see how long the stream will be. If this turns out to be longer than expected, then I will only stick to the few that I have. But if, now this is big if, excuse me, what was I forgot what I was talking about. Oh no, wait, sorry, I remember. if there's enough time at the end of the stream, if it's only been like 2 or so hours, then just for you guys, I'll read Blood Whistle. How does that sound? Just this once, I'll read you guys Blood Whistle. Alright. Sounds good. Give me, I think, 5 seconds. Just to do a little something. Just a little bit of preparation, don't worry about it. Really doesn't take too much effort, I think. Okay, boom. Quick export this. Okay, there we go. Now, for the good stuff. This is the story of Jeff the Killer. Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains, were a pair of 2 eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but he said it in only a simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled out a knife, aiming it at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing out toward the... oh my... I'm not cut out for this, am I? They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out it to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing, I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Liu couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you." Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son. She turns around and calls her son over. Billy, these are our new neighbors. Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. Well, said Jeff's mom, I'm Margaret, and this is my husband. Oh. Well, I'm Margaret, and this is my husband, Peter, and my 2 sons, Jeff and Liu. They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family are done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party if you haven't noticed? I'm not some dumb kid. Jeff, said his mother, we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final. Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Liu finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. Hey, what the hell? The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears what is that? Aeropostale? How do I pronounce that?
Aeropostale.
Aeropostale. I thought so. He wears wow. He wears a pair. God. Would have been great if they put N instead of A. He wears a Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, well, well. Looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith. Jeff and Liu looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. Ruthless. And I, said the first kid, am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there is a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift. Liu stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of the friends pulled a knife on him. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. The kid walked up to Liu and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Liu gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Oh? And what are you gonna do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed to Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out on him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Leo could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. This is the moment where Jeff became the killer. Jeff, how'd you... That was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Leo made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Leo just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop and how he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Liu." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach. And we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Liu had been attacked, but then there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing, because truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Liu. "Son, call your brother down." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Leo tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner and they both nod. "Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," says Leo. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Leo. "It was me! I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Leo held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Leo, it was me! I did it!" Jeff had tears running down his face. "Poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Leo out to the patrol car. "Leo, tell them it was me! Tell them! I was the one who beat up those kids!" Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Leo, you can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Leo inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it?" Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept. Jeff! I keep saying Jeff! What is wrong with me? Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Leo when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Leo at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is, until Saturday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. "Jeff, it's the day," she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. "What? What's today? Asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party! He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and pair of jeans and walked down the stairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. Son, is that all you're gonna wear? Said Jeff's mom. Son, is that all you're gonna wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression. Oh my god. Now, Jeff, this may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled down the stairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. You're wearing that? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. The kids are out in the yard, Jeff. How about you go and meet some of them, said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well have been standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. Hey, wanna play? He said. No kid, I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with a weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off of Liu. So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise. A weird, rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. How high do you have to jump a fence on skateboards? Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh no. I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. No one interrupts, or guts will fly, they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door, but Troy grabbed him. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me. He picks up Jeff and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff, look at me. Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC. And now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? God. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC. And now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally! You stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed, all rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Got a Gary Sue complex. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burned both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though his face was covered, and he was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Leo go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see it. What he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on edge, on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Liu and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red, his face was turned into a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Liu, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect." His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. "Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay? I've never felt more happy." "Look at me! This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right? You know, in the head?" "Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here, and we'll give him a psychological test." "Oh, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. "Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go." "Stop Deku roleplaying. Shut up." "I'm doing my best." Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. "Okay, mommy." Oh. "Okay, mommy." His mother took him. I can't take this seriously anymore. "Okay, mommy." His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. "This is what came in," said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Why would they go through the effort of putting the burnt clothes back together? Why could they not just like buy new pairs of the same clothes? I'm a little lost there. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bed. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy." I can't keep saying Mommy. I can't do that. I have to commit to the bit, though. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes ringed in black. Mommy. That's what it says! It says Mommy! Quote unquote M-O-M-M-Y. Both times. I can't keep smiling, Mummy. Jeff, your eyes. His eyes were seemingly never closed. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could see forever. See myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son," she said. "Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face." She ran into the room and shook Jeff. Fuck! She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. "Mommy, you lied." That's the last thing they'd ever hear, as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting the both of them. His brother Liu woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Liu. Liu thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh," Jeff said. "Just go to sleep." That sucked. I like how the reaction to your son going insane is, "We gotta shoot the bitch." I also agree. How do you, like, precisely burn off your eyelids? That's not a thing. I mean, they've got to get the iconic look somehow, right? So, you know, they gotta do what they can, I guess. Okay, that one took an hour. Or, excuse me, a half an hour to read. I think the main reason people thought it was so good is because it was the first somewhat competently written and long-form creepypasta. I think just due to the sheer length, people decided to take it more seriously than others. But it's just so bad. It's just not good. There's almost no redeeming qualities. Again with the dead kids! Every single time. Hi Poog, what's up? They could have just used a Sharpie or something. But that wouldn't have been as cool. The permanent emo look is what's in, don't you know? Don't you understand? My stream keeps saying it's like lagging, but I don't know if that's the case. It keeps saying the bitrate is low. Have there been any like dropped frames or anything, or have I cut out at all? I really hope not. Emo my ass. No, okay, good to hear. Spilt printer ink. It's gotta be something, right? While they were in the bathroom and the bleach and the fire spilled on them, Jeff just so happened to bump into a printer and he got all the black ink spilled directly in a circle around both of his eyes. See, that's how you write a story. All right. Let's see. What song haven't I listened to yet? Ice Demon. Okay, excuse me. Jeff somehow pissed off an octopus. In the house they had an aquarium with an octopus. He broke the aquarium and the octopus was so pissed he just squirted on his eyes. Genius storytelling! See, they should have hired me to write this. Creepypasta, hire me. Alright. This one is a little less well known. However, in some circles, it's one of those cult classic type things. So you may or may not know it, but this one is called Max and Ruby 0004. It was just this Christmas that went by and things were getting busy. I had to start buying presents for the family. I had finished shopping, but I still needed to grab a present for my little cousin. She's not very happy. I already messed up! Oh wait, I forgot to, here, hold on. There we go. That's better. That's what I meant to do. But I forgot to. But now there I am. Or there we are. It was just this Christmas that went by and things were getting busy. I had to start buying presents for the family. I had finished shopping, but I still needed to grab a present for my little cousin. She's not very hard to shop for since she's 4. She likes things like Peppa Pig and My Little Pony. She really liked, and I say liked for a reason, Max and Ruby. So when I decided to go looking for a present, I figured something like a Max and Ruby DVD would have been perfect, since she liked to watch it on the daily basis. However, Christmas meant that most of the online DVDs were sold out on most places. I went to look on eBay as well, but figured I could not trust what condition the DVDs Oh my god! I went to look on eBay as well, but figured I could not trust what condition the DVDs would have been in, so I was stuck in a rut for a while. Until that package arrived. I was at home still scrolling for a stupid DVD, until I heard the sound of something being pushed into my letterbox. I caught a hold of it before my dog did and looked at the package. It seemed to be wrapped fairly bad, with what looked like grease marks and stains on it. Naturally, like anyone would, I decided to open the package. Inside was something that I could not explain. It was a Max and Ruby DVD, but I had not seen one like it online. Have they never heard of piracy? This dude's probably like 13, and this was written in 2013. I mean, piracy existed in 2013, way before, but, you know, it wasn't the trendy thing to do, I guess. eBay was super trendy. That's why it's in so many creepypastas. And also because it's an easy scapegoat. It was a Max and Ruby DVD, but I had not seen one like it online. It was like some little kid... It was like some little kid had drawn on the front cover with a marker. The title was just Max and Ruby, with what looked like a poorly drawn illustration of Max and Ruby on the front. There were no names or anything, but on the back it had a list of episodes. 4 episodes, all with blunt titles. The first, episode _0001. The second, episode _0002. So on and so forth until episode _0004. I gave the DVD a watch over, and to my surprise, the episodes were all perfect quality and seemed to have no flaws. It was as if a real DVD, just with a homemade cover. The only thing I thought was... What is going on? Why is it written like this? I gave the DVDs a watch over, and to my surprise, the episodes were all perfect quality and seemed to have no flaws. It was as if it was a real DVD, just with a homemade cover. Of course it's a real DVD! Is it shaped like a DVD? Does it look like a DVD? Does it taste like a DVD? If you put it in a DVD player, does it run? I think it's a DVD! The only thing I thought was odd was the episode selection screen. The episodes had names, but they were all called Max and Ruby 1, with the numbers being changed as it went down the list. The actual selection screen was just a plain white screen with black text with the episodes list and nothing else. Does it taste like a DVD? You don't understand. I used to... Okay. No, that would have been a lie. I was just about to say, yeah, I used to lick my DVDs. No one does that. That's not a thing I do. That's not a thing anyone does. And I would have been lying if I would have made that up on the spot. I did, though, used to smell the DVDs. We had a DVD cleaning kit. And it came with, like, this... I don't know what to call it. Like a lotion or something that you rub on the DVD with, like, a micro brush. And it, like, fills in the cracks in the DVD and then cleans it in the process. I used to sniff the shit out of the DVDs when they were done being cleaned. It's... okay. I need to stop self-incriminating myself with all these, like... stupid stories. After giving it much thought, I decided to change the cover to something a little nicer by printing out a DVD cover that I found on Google and tracked down the names of the episodes so that they were labeled right. I left the episode list screen alone because I figured it was self-explanatory. Christmas went by and things were fine. I gave my little cousin her DVD and she was happy with it all through Christmas. But that was only because but that was only because she had not watched it yet. On Boxing Day, the family had gone out for a meal and left me to babysit my cousin. I was not too bothered by on Boxing Day. Wow, I suck at reading today. What's going on? Maybe next time I'll be better. Here, I'm gonna clean my glasses. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, I'm a gremlin! I can't read. I don't know what's going on. Let me clean my glasses. Maybe that'll help. Maybe I just need to go back on medication. Maybe that's the thing. I need to take a Tylenol. Or excuse me, not a Tylenol. A Advil. No, what's the what's the thing that ADHD people take? Because I'm not willing to say my actual prescription. There we go. Oh, I can see. Wow, I can see. It's kind of a miracle now. Okay. No, not meth. I would have been dead long ago. Yes, I can see that your message, Gloomy. On Boxing Day, the family had gone out for a meal and left me to babysit my cousin. I was not too bothered about being left at home. I figured now was a good time to put on the DVD for her. I'd put the DVD in and let it play while I was in the kitchen eating my dinner. From what I could hear, she had watched episodes 1 to 3 so far. I was just about to finish off my noodles when I heard my cousin screaming from the other room. Dropping everything, I had ran into the living room and saw my cousin curled up on the floor screaming. I had looked up at the TV and I felt my heart in my throat. What I had caught a glimpse of was one of the most horrifying things I had ever seen. It was what appeared to be a frame of Max and Ruby standing next to each other in complete darkness. But what made it so horrible was their lack of faces. Adderall, that's what I was thinking of. Thank you. Yes, I just need to take an Adderall. Maybe then I'll be able to read. They had lost their noses and mouths, and their eyes were replaced with big black holes. The colors were a disgusting blood red, and there was faint static in the background. The sound was replaced with what sounded like the Max and Ruby theme playing backwards, with the faint sound of static in the mix of it all. It had to be the most disturbing thing I had ever seen, and it must have been on screen for at least 20 seconds before the screen went black and the DVD turned off. Which alone was weird because DVDs do not usually turn off by themselves. Really? I was able to calm my cousin down, telling her it was not real, that she just had a nightmare as she'd fallen asleep in front of the DVD player. However, I knew in my mind it was completely real. My parents had rung me up and told me they were going to be out all night. So this was going to be the best opportunity to look at this DVD more closely. I did not mention it to them, and as soon as the hung up, I grabbed the DVD and stuck it on my laptop. As soon as it loaded, I noticed that episode _0004 had now been replaced with RIP Mommy and Daddy, which sent a deep chill down my back. Since my cousin was now asleep, I plugged in my earbuds so he can sleep without having to hear anything. Normally, an episode of Max and Ruby would have 3 short stories, but this episode only had 1. It started off quite lighthearted. Max and Ruby were playing tag in the garden, and their parents were on the porch watching them play. However, something was off. The sound was playing in reverse, and the parents' faces were that of sadness. It panned to the mother and father, and in a voice of deep sorrow, the father spoke. "It's such a shame," he sighed. It then cut short to the sound of static and a loud scream, followed by the sound of 2 people choking. The sounds felt so real it made me almost physically sick. The scene then switched to Max and Ruby standing in front of what looked like a gravestone labeled RIP Mommy and Daddy. The 2 of them had no faces. At this point, there was almost no sound. There was also no sound, apart from faint static. This scene remained on screen for about a minute and a half before it cut away into black. It then changed scene again, now showing Max and Ruby sitting in front. Maybe one day I'll learn to read. It then changed scene again, now showing Max and Ruby sitting in Ruby's room. Both of them were sobbing. The sobs were so realistic and heart-wrenching that it sounded like it was taken from a real person mourning. What happened next was probably the most disgusting, yet saddest thing I have ever witnessed. The scene had changed to Max sitting in his room. He was standing on a chair with a noose hanging from the ceiling. He had brought it around his neck. The scene faded to black and the static got louder. Almost instantly, it then cut to Ruby walking in on her brother. The scene cut to black with the loud static. When the screen returned, Ruby was standing, now on her own, in the garden by 2 gravestones. One was labeled RIP Mommy and Daddy, and the other RIP Brother. She then started to look at the camera with glowing blue pupils to speak to me. "Well, whoever's watching this is because you never watched any of me and my brother's episodes. So, one of these days you will regret this." The screen had faded to black afterward. What? You're telling me all this beef just because this dude didn't watch Max and Ruby? At this point, I had already been sick and was sitting, all shaken. The episode seemed to have come to an end at last, as the Max and Ruby theme song played slowly in reverse. I was about to eject the DVD when the same image came up like it did on the TV. This time, however, there was text above the 2 rabbits that said, "Death is our only release." There were no credits or anything else. It stayed on this for a few seconds before the DVD finally popped out of my laptop. I sat there trying to contemplate what had just happened. In my shock and fear, I made the stupid decision to break the DVD up as much as I could before leaving the house. Shoved the pieces down the drain. Thankfully, I kept a few screenshots and saved them to my laptop. The next couple of days went past without anything unusual happening. I had a few nightmares about the DVD, but luckily that was all. My cousin had gone back home along with the rest of the family. It was a late night and my parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me to watch TV. I heard what sounded like someone posting something through a door. At this point, the DVD had left my mind since I had not told anyone about it. However, it all came flooding back when I looked down at the letter in front of me. It was just messily folded up, and it read, "Death is our only release." Alright, that was it. You know, I actually have a lot of nostalgia from this one in particular, because I found this one having also grown up on Max and Ruby, and I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool, and the images are so creepy. And, you know, bunnies. But that's a different thing. We'll get into that some other time. You know, main point is the nostalgia factor is what kind of hooked me onto this creepypasta when I was like 12 when I read it. Or no, not 12. Well, it was posted in 2013, but I don't think I read it until like 2016. So maybe 11? You know, 11-year-olds comprehend writing a lot a lot differently from a fully grown adult. Well, I'm not fully grown, I'm a twink. That's why I'm baiting in the title. Because I have the pretty privilege. Death apparently isn't a release because he killed the DVD and that thing came back. Damn, you're right. But yeah, that's why I liked it back in the day, but reading it through again, it's so cliche and honestly boring, I think. You know, there's not much you can really do to save it besides, you know, more competent writing and changing the whole story, obviously, but I thought it was okay. Like, at least it made sense in my head. I could picture it in my head, and there was no, like, hyper-realistic blood or anything, so at least props to that. Alright. Pause the music. This one's gonna be just a little interesting, and I hope you bear with me with this one. My penis is big. I don't know if I can read this. You know, you needle-dicked pansies both cower in fear when I whip my towering cyclops out. My penis consumes light and whole asteroids like they were nothing. One time, I got an erection, and well, that caused a whole galaxy to be shattered by the sheer force. When I ejaculate, it causes the gravitational constant of the universe to be altered because of the sudden increase in mass. At the end of time, there will be nothing left in the universe but dark matter and my penis. My penis exists in 4 dimensions. I didn't read this beforehand. I just saw the title and thought it was really funny. Everything is in all caps, by the way. My penis exists in 4 dimensions, expanding outward at light speed like time itself. My penis composes the universe and tickles Azathoth's omnipotent bunghole when the stars are right. Entropy is but a fart in the wind for my penis. Oh my god. Entropy is but a fart in the wind for my penis. This is Dracula flow. Entropy is but a fart in the wind for my penis. Like, no, I have to read it seriously. Entropy is but a fart in the wind for my penis. My penis can break mathematics. It is able to transcend reality and destroy human thought with its sheer volume and mass. My penis has a penis, and that penis is still bigger than your penis. Holy shit, that was terrifying. There's an addendum to the story just at the very bottom. It says this was pulled from it was pulled from the Something Awful forums. It was from a thread about PETA. Like the animal organization. I like how my viewership spiked once I started talking about my my towering cyclops. In the stripped club, straight up jorking it. And by it, well, let's just say my peanuts. What is Baki even about? That's really good. I really like that comment. Bro, what the fuck is Baki even about? Whew. That one was a doozy. God, that's the whitest thing I've ever said. Well, we've got this one left, and then we'll move on to Blood Whistle if there's enough time at the end. How's that sound for you guys? 2 more creepypastas. It's only been an hour and a half, so, you know, I might as well. It wouldn't be the shortest video I've ever done, nor would it be the longest. Oh my god, but that Blood Whistle one might just, like, take up a whole hour. 3? I don't even know what third one I would do. I don't have that much of a backlog. I'd have to find out. However, I do appreciate that you guys are enjoying the content. This is good. I am happy. Hopefully, that means more creepypasta readings in the future. For all of you and for me, because I like reading this too. I like putting on my stupid little dramatic voice and reading out these creepypastas. Even though it's not really much of a dramatic voice, I'm just whispering, that's it. I could lower my voice if I wanted to. I could have gone, you know, you needle-dicked pansies both cower in fear when I whip out my towering cyclops. My penis has a penis, and that penis is still bigger than your penis. That's really funny. Imagine if I switched to the deep voice. Get low for us. Entropy. Entropy is but a fart in the wind for my penis. My penis can break mathematics. Jesse. Jesse, my penis consumes light and whole asteroids like they were nothing, Jesse. Hell yeah, science, bitch! Mathematical penis, yo! Alright, I should probably not scream mathematical penis. Entropeanuts. That's good. Alright. Second to last creepypasta for tonight. I think you guys all saw this coming, and it's in the thumbnail. Sonic.exe. Ooh, I'm so excited! Well, starts off great. Hold on. I gotta like prepare myself mentally for this. You just mentioned El Pendrive and El Pendrive Azul. I didn't even notice. Read oh, I should. You're right. Maybe I'll do that next time. From what I've heard, it's like just better Sonic.exe, or is it just Sonic.exe en español? I'm not too sure. What about Sonic.exe 2? Oh my god. The sequel goes crazy. I liked the way that Sally.exe was just a ripoff of some random dude's YouTube video. Anyway, that's lore for another day, or if you've watched my streams then you already know, but... On to the Crappypasta! Get on with it, loser. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. Sorry, I read chat, I'm jorking it. Oh no! Don't jork it to Sonic.exe. That is the worst thing to be jorking it to. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you could get to explore the towns in it, until I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. So I took it. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, let's just call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting. Though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late. And I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it, he's after me. And if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please, Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though... Oh my god, that just happened. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looks like any ordinary computer CDR disc, except it had black marker written on it. Sonic.exe, it said. And it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from somewhere else, like a pawn shop or eBay. See, there's eBay again. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because like I said earlier, I liked the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different. Something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red, like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. Hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about the image when I saw it, though I figured it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up, and I was like, WTF? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The freakiest thing. The background was the dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic.exe, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. And the image for the save file where you see a preview of the level you're on is just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and, to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure that something was up. What tipped you off, genius? I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized this wasn't just a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer... Really? It definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked out file 1 and chose Tails. And when I selected and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds. And I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy, before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red and the text showed only Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different though, it sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any other... Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that as Tails started running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones, very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his... Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before. So I had him move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers, and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanging on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. What if Sonic.exe was called Freaky.exe and instead of killing you, he kissed you? Damn, I gotta get my hands on this CD. After a minute passed after the music stopped, Tails was running up a hill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, if not acting as if he totally was oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those glowing red dots, just like that title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play a game with me?" That's not what it says. It says, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with the level title now saying, "Hide and Seek." This time, I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. As a smart gamer, I continued to move Tails towards the collection of dead animals. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds have passed as I helped Tails run through the forest. And then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen, again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had the black and red eyes again only. This time, he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cutscene, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come out of those blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face. As he looked down at the horrified fox, I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went black. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding, his orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time, the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or if some kind of sick, twisted joke or anything, really. But despite my fear of what happened next, like the smart gamer I was, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the scrap brain zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark reddish cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gygas's theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid just like Tails did, though not as much, more rather he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red, static, a couple times. Then that maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear, again, thinking something horrible is about to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with text saying, "Found you," I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time that high-pitched squealing from Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I sure hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles, in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. A terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again, and then I made him punch him again, and Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckled fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for about at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. "So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree?" What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray, his dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us!" and "Why did you give us to him?" and run away before he gets you too." Their cries died out, as I then heard Sonic laugh. His laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle. Though he didn't last long." I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long until you join him and all my other friends." My God, I'm gonna try that one again. I can't read. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking toward me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now. Just like the others." When he grabbed me, I saw his bleeding, black and red-eyed, grinning face. I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik. But anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said ellipses, which I found really freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it had the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered, the walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candle lights and a few dark blood stains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top of the part of and there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song, but I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right at least twice and then shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation, you know, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him, as we continued going through the hallway. Then I stop at a long flight of stairs, leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs, down. This one was much longer, took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet, as did the walls, turned more dark red and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out. Though he tried to hide it, I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic... The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I have ever seen. And that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and his... hyper-realistic. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. and there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs. Much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I had... This is so hard to read. The author sucks at writing. It went back to the image again. This entire paragraph is just one long run-on sentence. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up, but it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. I am God. It was then, when I read the message while looking at Sonic, that it hit me. I realized right there and then, this Sonic was a monster. A pure, evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness, before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but black screen. As I sat there staring at the black screen, one last text came up. "Ready for round 2, Tom?" The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the 3rd save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, his mustache drooping, and had blackened. His glass is... Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, and his mustache drooped, and had blackened. His glasses broke and blood is coming from them, and he had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then Tom said no and shut the computer off. Sonic went crazy because the author of the Creepypasta's grammar was so cheeks. That's what I'm saying. You get me. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on, no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one. And then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, literally drags you to hell, where he can then play with you always as his toy. Pause. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there. But at least I managed to turn it back on. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling with blood stains under its eyes. Wow! That was shit. That was so bad. I can't even believe such an incompetent writer could exist. You know, I think the funniest part is... on the, where I'm reading right here, and just as a backstory, this was posted to the Creepypasta website, and it was taken down, because no one took it seriously. It was terrible. They took it down because it sucked. And then the author here, I'll just read it from here. The original journal has since been deleted. You can find an archived version of it here, along with all the comments, at least the ones that weren't deleted by the author for being too negative. Here's the author's response to this story being deleted. I deeply regret to inform you all that I have received some bad news. The admins of the Creepypasta wiki have finally decided to delete Sonic.exe off of the wiki, on the grounds that it was badly written and had too many cliches, and was a bad example of what should be a creepypasta. Bull friggin' horse shit. As you can see, I'm furious with the fact that my masterpiece, which has won the hearts of millions and has made a massive impact on the internet, is being brought down by a bunch of jealous, arrogant... I can say that word, but I don't think YouTube wants me to say that word. Stupid furry haters. But that does not mean I am just going to sit down and take this lightly. Nope. They have been messing with the bull. Now they've called out the horns. Listen, everyone, I need your help with this. We are at war here. I want every Sonic.exe fan who is reading this to get the word out. I want you to tell every other Sonic.exe fan out there, every fanatic, every artist, every follower of my creation about this. Tell your friends who are also Sonic.exe fans if they have too. Tell them we have to keep the spirit of Sonic.exe alive. Make more fan art, make more videos, block the haters. Praise Sonic.exe like you never have before. Build websites dedicated to his greatness. Whatever you gotta do to keep him alive and strong, just do it. The deletion of Sonic.exe from the wiki is but a minor cut on the flower of our greatness, my friends. And that cut has done nothing but further the spreading, and we are the pollen of this flower. We need to prepare for our victory over the haters. The haters need to bleed for their crimes. Rejoice, my fellow Sonic.exe fans! Our glorious little hellspawn shall have the last laugh. This will be his ultimate victory. The absolute subjugation of the internet itself. So not only is he bad at writing, but he's bad at taking criticism. It's really funny. Sans, I got your DM. I will read that the next time. So, that was a creepypasta by JC the Hyena. If you don't know, he's a pedophile, so... You know, I'm not just shaming his work for no reason. Yeah, you know. Not only does the creepypasta suck, but the writing is bad, the pacing is bad, it's full of cliches. And the author's too arrogant to see the fact that his shit writing is shit, so, you know. Sonic author was a cornball. Yep. Pretty much. Well, yeah, that was trying to strike a chord. I know what chord he was trying to strike. That was Sonic.exe. I am so glad I have read that, and I don't have to read that ever again. Alright. Last creepypasta for tonight. I'm gonna do this on the fly. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. There it is. You know exactly what creepypasta we're gonna be reading. The most cliched creepypasta, I think, just about of all time. Rivaling that of Sonic.exe, at least the writer is competent in some areas. But still, it's one of those creepypastas. This is Blood Whistle. Forward. This is the recorded blog of a college student who was playing a modified version of Sonic. That's not what he was playing. I'm still off the coattails of Sonic.exe. That's really funny. This is Blood Whistle, a Super Mario Bros. 3 creepypasta. Forward. This is the recorded blog of a college student who was playing a modified version of Super Mario Bros. 3 on his computer. Shortly after submitting the last entry, he committed suicide in his dorm room. June 5th, 2012. A friend of mine recently sent me what he claims to be a scary Super Mario Bros. 3 hack that he wanted me to try out because he didn't have that. Here, you know what, guys? Give me, I think, 5 minutes. I'm gonna go on break and probably, recite some, what are they called? I'm gonna recite some tongue twisters to myself. Kind of prepare for this one. Because this one's gonna be long. I don't want to keep stumbling over it. And also, I need to go to the bathroom anyway, so I will see you in a bit. Hello, I'm back. I recited my tongue twisters. I should be good now. We should be good. Fingers crossed. How do you restring a bass? I wish I could tell you. I've had a couple guitars, but I've been lucky enough to not have had the strings break, so I can't tell you. But I'm sure YouTube's got a good tutorial for you. Anyway, let's get back onto Blood Whistle. Forward. This is the recorded blog of a college student who was playing a modified version of Super Mario Bros. 3 on his computer. Shortly after submitting the last entry, he committed suicide in his dorm room. June 5th, 2012. A friend of mine recently sent me what he claims to be a scary Super Mario Bros. 3 hack that he wanted me to try out, because he didn't have the courage. I started this blog to record my progress through the game. He got this from a site that's no longer active, and I've seen some pretty scary occurrences with emulator games before. Just look at Ben. All of that aside, however, there was something definitely off about this ROM. Its title was SMB3:BW. Anyhow, I won't play any today as I'm quite busy with college work and such, but I will definitely start tomorrow. June 6th, 2012. I played some of the game today. Obviously my friend was misinformed, as I have played all the way through 1 through 3. As I have played all the way through 1-3 and have found nothing irregular. All of the sprites, levels, and sounds didn't have a fluke to their name. Wait, a secret? That must be how you have to unlock it. I swear, you guys, I'll find the warp whistle tomorrow and I'll see what creepy secrets this game has to hide. Look for tomorrow's post, it won't disappoint. Maybe this will explain what the BW in the title stands for. June 7th, 2012. I wish I hadn't unlocked that secret. This game will be the bane of my existence. I'll try as best as I can to explain what happened, and what will certainly entail. I don't know if any of you will believe me, but this sick mockery of one of my childhood favorites must be exploited and never be seen by the eyes of any other breathing man on God's green earth. And Todd, what I'll call my friend for the sake of privacy and possibly security, do not send that link to anyone else. You'll see why below. I entered the castle stage, knowing its only secret was the warp whistle. I disposed of a dry bones before donning a raccoon tail. With a running start, I was flying above the stage until I hit the secret area. My whole life before I hit up on my keyboard was completely different. I was happy, I was normal, I could wake up in the morning recognizing my own reflection, being absolute about my safety. Now it's lies. All lies. I know that as of what happened today, my life will become an infernal hell in which every day will be a futile struggle to retain my own sanity. After finishing this wretched collage of electronic dejection, I will embrace death like a long-lost lover with open arms. Now to get on with what had come to pass. The blocks that lined the wall were a gloomy, albeit polished, obsidian black. Mario's skin now had a grayish tint to it, but that wasn't what was wrong with the picture. The music was a sped-up version of the normal bonus room theme. Toad's skull was cracked open and profusely No, it's happening again! Toad's skull was cracked open and profusely bleeding, spilling blood onto the floor and making the room slippery like an ice stage. His mouth was also agape and spewing blood onto the floor. The blood had an eerie, reflective quality that should have been graphically impossible for an 8-bit game like Mario 3. I walked up to him to see what it would... I walked up to him to see what it is that he might say. What he had to offer is this. Blood whistle. Hear its cry. Excuse me for one moment. Blood whistle. Hear its cry. I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest... I can't even believe it. I can't believe my incompetency to speak English. This is kind of like actually grating on me. Just a little bit. I then ran towards the chest... Oh my god. This is where I die. Blood whistle, take me. I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest... Oh my god! The chest! The chest! Oh! I then ran towards the chents. Alright guys, that was the stream for tonight. I can't do this anymore. I'm just kidding. I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest was drenched in reflective, realistic blood of the same type emanated... I can't do this. I can't do this. I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest was drenched in reflective, realistic blood of the same type emanated by the orifices and exposed cranium of the poor little mushroom-headed fellow. Pressing onward, I ran through it to discover its dark secret, its twisted surprise. I wasn't prepared for the following events. A blood-soaked warp whistle ominously rose from what I now believe to be the deepest crevice of hell. It blipped twice as the normal whistle would. That, my fellow reader, was the only normality of what I have played today. It played a deep tune that I can't get out of my head as I write this. The whistle descended, violently striking Mario in the chest. He unleashed a blood-curdling scream as it went into the back and out of his chest. This cry wasn't 8-bit at all. It wasn't even cartoonesque. It was the sound of unfiltered anguish, of utter agony. His expression reflected the same. To end my experience on this perverse version of something I once loved, Mario was transported to the warp zone of the blood whistle. I call it this because it had only the the emanated like eminence, like Mario mystery meat vine sauce. Whoa. I call it this because it only had the cookie cutter outline of the quaint island. The water consisted solely of the same blood aforementioned in my encounter with the whistle. Corpses of Koopas and other enemies of Mario were scattered afloat near the shores. White, menacing eyes glared at me between the waves, surfacing just to cast their evil glance at Mario, or me. I can't be sure at this point. All of the worlds were indicated by their respective numbers, and all of the dots were crimson. At that point, I noticed yet another abnormality, this time concerning the dot for World 8. Beside it were two 8-bit patches of fire that twisted and contorted in place. Without me pressing any buttons, the whistle stabbed Mario in the ribs. This cued him to move to the World 2 dot. Refusing to pay Refusing to pay any further attention to the horrors that surely await in the distorted desert, I saved the game and quit. I have played more than enough of my fill for today. I guess that I figured out the acronym for the ROM title meant Blood Whistle the hard way. Despite the horrors that plague this abomination, I will continue to subject myself to this suffering for the sake of you all. Well, also for mine. It'll help me keep track of the days, and maybe this desperate attempt to cling to my stable frame of mind won't prove to be in total vain. There are 5,000 people that have followed this blog in the past 2 days that it's been up. After this pointedly interest post... God damn it! After this pointedly interesting post, I'm hoping to have some more. For those of you following my... I'm seriously about to end the stream. There are 5,000 people that have followed this blog in the past 2 days that it's been up. After this pointedly interesting post, I'm hoping to have some more. For those of you following my posts, read tomorrow's and share with your friends. I need you to expose the stark luridness of this shell of something I once knew and loved. I am becoming illiterate. These shitty pastas are like ruining my brain. I can't make word connections anymore. I don't know what a scream sounds like. Can you recreate the sound? You happy? I like how my avatar didn't even pop up at all. June 8th, 2012. Well, I did it. I managed to clench the fickle fibers of my perception of reality long enough to play through World 2. I have come to the conclusion that whoever made this is completely and utterly deranged. There's been a rusted gear or a broken spring in the mechanics of their sadistic mind. Their only purpose in creating this mod was to mentally and psychologically flagellate the naive soul poor enough to take the bait of its mysterious origin. Well, I'm certainly naive enough to fall into that category. I digress to the experience. You scared me. Sorry, my headphones cut out. Can you do that again? No, you can rewind it. You can rewind it. I find myself asking how I could have missed major things like this yesterday when I saved the game in this world. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Blood of the same texture from before was just as splattered across the desert sands as sand itself was. Solitary eyes watched me from the pyramids. Pentagrams and other satanic symbols were also infrequent in the environment. Could this hack be the work of the Illuminati? Okay, enough pondering. I need to finish this grim tale. Skeletons of Koopas littered the bleak landscape. Illuminati confirmed? There was a distinct disturbance with Mario's appearance, though. He looked starved and parched, as one would typically look after a few days in the desert. Mario then moved into the 2-1 block without my command, and the music began to play shortly after. This was a reversed version of the overworld theme. Whispers and other paranormal phenomena could be heard playing in harmony with the music, saying cryptic things. After about a minute, I began to record the sound. I'll upload it as soon as possible, but I know I definitely can't do it today. One of the most distinct things I keep hearing was, "Let the whistle guide you," and the instrument of blood plays the sweetest tune. This creeped me out, needless to say, but this of all things wouldn't prevent me from playing out the remainder of this game. The stage itself was very scary. The sky was grayish-blue, accompanied by an almost white sun. The colors weren't bright or cheery in the slightest. The pyramid blocks were faded and cracked, and the wooden blocks were obviously rotting. Mario's sprite was visibly starving and pleading for thirst. The fire creatures fixedly stared at me like a shark stares at a school of fish, seeming to know who their next meal was. The neutral expressions of the Koopas had changed into ones of converged disgust and loathe. I had obtained the raccoon by now, so I ran along the pipe-looking platform and took off. I flew for a little while, which was nice. Mario's face changed as well, being the normal, happy smile you usually see throughout the entire game. I relished in the few moments of happiness I sought from this game. These moments were mercilessly ended. These moments were mercilessly ended within the course of a few seconds. The sky flashed a gloomy black before the blood whistle came and impaled the poor plumber yet again. Mario fell, his corpulent figure going limp until he hit the ground with a thump that I swore I could feel. He was miraculously alive, his body twitching in a feeble attempt to rise. A fire creature jumped on Mario, who was now pinned to the ground and screaming in pain. His scream was bitterly realistic. It reeked of such ineffable pain, it hurts me now to describe the sheer degree of torture this character was put through. There he was, burning and seething in pain, and there I sat, completely powerless, forced to watch what I thought was the end of his trials on World 2. I was so wrong. The level select came into view. Wait, what am I reading? Oh, right, okay. The level select came into view. Whistle threw back, Mario was transported to one of the pyramid levels. When the level started, the background was an egregious smilk! When the level started, the background was an egregious smoke-filled black. Bursts of lightning filled the sky with illumination. Winged demons in flight were visible upon these strikes. Also in the skies glowed stagnantly lit pentagrams and 666. Mario was being carried by two of Bowser's sons up one of the game's pyramid structures. However, this particular structure was vastly different than the regular ones. Smilk! I can't believe it. The bricks were cracked and faded with age. The edges were jagged with dried blood caked each block. I read that right, yeah. The edges were jagged with dried blood caked each block. Nothing but a heavy drum beat and the sounds of thunder played in the background. The thunder didn't play in unison with lightning as happens in most games. There was an eerily realistic pause between the flare of the lightning and the boom of the thunder. As the top of the structure was reached, I saw the worst thing yet. Bowser towered above everyone else, intimidating and terrible. Below stood 4 of his sons, 2 of which had carried Mario. Morton, Iggy, Ray, and Von Koopa. Above the entire scene were the words Blood Whistle in bright red neon letters. Bowser's face had to have been 10 times more evil than I had ever seen it. His green shell was cracked and his white spines had been dipped in blood. Blood was fresh on his teeth, also as his serpentine tongue licked them, making clear his intentions on what to do with Mario after he had disposed of him. Whoa! It was then I came to a dooming realization. Bowser was freaky. What if instead of Mario he was called Freakio? Instead of beating Bowser, he freaked Bowser. It was then that I came to a dooming realization. Mario can't die. The game won't let him. However many things are thrown at him, in however many ways he is brutally maimed, mortality will not escape him. For a time, that is. He will continue to be sustained by whatever dark force or sick mind that drives the rest of these occurrences to passing until the game's eventual end, in which he will ruefully and painfully perish. Now that this has been said, to continue today's experience. Suddenly Von Koopa produced a dagger. It gleamed with uncanny realism in the light of the blood whistle sign that loomed above. After a brief pause, he began to slice Mario's chest open. Mario again brayed that fearful cry, a cry that implied that he would only die to endure torture of 10 times the magnitude. That he would die only to endure torture of 10 times the magnitude. Tears streamed down his face as Vaughn removed his heart, still pumping. He handed it to Bowser, who ate it with a crunching chomp. His sons laughed as he did this, blood flowing from Mario's exposed abdomen. With a bark from their twisted fathers, the sons shamelessly began to regurgitate and tear apart what was open. As they were doing this, Mario slowly turned his head towards me and uttered a single question through tears and blood. Why? How do I say that in a Mario voice? Why? Why? I myself asked the very same question. Why would they treat him as an animal, if not less, for their amusement? Why would someone initiate the genesis of such a horrid contraption? A contraption in which life and death have no meaning and are manipulates. A contraption in which concepts such as morals, remorse, and mercy are completely foreign. It makes me shudder to think that there is someone sick enough out there to put a character through this kind of unbearable hell just to sit back and laugh. It makes me absolutely sick to my core. Oh, that reminds me of another thing. You're probably wondering as to why I complacently talk about Mario as if he's a human being. A human who suffers pain, sorrow, depression, starvation, and thirst like the rest of us. A human who is also capable of feeling happiness, remorse, goodwill, and love like anyone else. It's because I'm thoroughly convinced that he is. Please don't stop following this blog because you think I'm insane. That will come later. I believe without a shadow of a doubt that inside this game is a character with a complex range of emotions. Someone who feels like you and me. Actually, it's you and I? Oh, no, it's not. I was wrong. I wanted to be funny. But it's just a game, right? It's just a contrived mixture of code and data put together to present words and images, correct? Wrong. I know with everything inside of me that Mario has to be alive. I have seen him truly happy and truly sad. And at one point I may have even seen him truly angry. He feels like any other living, breathing human being. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know how someone so human could rise from something so truly inhuman. A character with a soul seemed completely impossible to me before I played this hack. I now have a goal with this game. To keep this poor creature safe. I suppose I now know the real truth. I'll see you all tomorrow, same place, same time. Oh my god, there's still so much left. June 9th. June 9th, 2012. It's me again. I had a horrible range of nightmares last night that are a direct Let me start over. It's me again. I had a horrible range of nightmares last night that are a direct result of playing this game. Some really weird stuff also went down. Before I get into today's gameplay, I'll have to go through them with you guys, so I'll have an interactive record of my dreaming habits related to this game. I myself am having a hard time as to how they were so close to home, and what they mean for my seemingly inevitable downfall. Before this, I have to let you in on a piece of relevant information. In the 4th grade, I used to play the recorder. Every kid had to learn some musical skill, and I liked wind instruments because of their method of play, appearance, and sound. Such is the irony of the instrument that has caused me all this grief. In my dream, I was playing the instrument in a dark room. I was my 4th grade self. just coolly playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Out of nowhere, I began to cough. I had choked on some blood that had materialized within and around my recorder. It covered it, and soon filled it. Blood began to pour in great quantity out of all of the recorder's holes. It soon began to float in midair and hover. A few seconds passed, and then it struck me in the chest. It had impaled me, going directly through my heart and every other vital artery one could think of. I woke up, the sheets plastered to my bare chest with sweat. I was completely fine. Not a scratch on me as I sat there in bed, afraid of how I'm sure the game did this, or maybe it was just me losing my sanity. I began to hear noise coming from my laptop. It was closed, but a faint, muffled humming sound was clearly audible. I warily approached my computer, the machine almost looking alive. I then opened it up. Those nights where you sweat hella are the best naps. So true. It was a picture of a SMB3. It was a picture of a SMB3 raccoon Mario sprite on a black backdrop. He was chained up by his legs and feet, and the chains reached outside of the screen. The blood whistle sat as the centerpiece of it all through Mario's chest. The tune of the blood whistle played over and over, a loop that only exacerbated the sound within the walls of my psyche. I tried exiting out of whatever this program might have been, but the window wouldn't close. I eventually had to take out my laptop battery, which didn't sit too well with my OS. Luckily, I didn't lose any files. Now for the gameplay. I was on a weak imitation of the World 3 level map. The water was none other than blood. Ravenous fish jumped out of the water, looks of primal hunger on their faces. There was something off about Mario's map representation that I noticed right away. Along with his raccoon tail, the blood whistle was now a permanent fixture through his body. His skin had dulled a little from its prior shade of gray, now more outwardly noticeable. His mustache now had dots of red clung to it as well. Without my or Mario's control, needless to say, I was moved to the first underwater stage. A cherry red tint absorbed the entire screen. This was to be expected, as the water looked blood-ridden from the outside as well. I swam down the left side of the level to get a fire mushroom. As soon as Mario got it and his outfit changed, he got an evil simper on his face. He looked at me and said, "Revenge, yes?" Or sorry, "Revenge, yes?" Revenge, yeah, yes, yes. I confirmed his suspicions, and then we That's so stupid. I confirmed his suspicions, and then we set off for the danger that lurked near. The fish cast malevolent gazes at Mario as he swam by, incinerating them. His normal happy smile returned. So does mine. The annihilation of the carnivorous critters didn't last long before both Mario and I faced a hellish dilemma. There was a large fish with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Below him were 2 power-up blocks, one black-looking and one purple-looking. I assumed that these were supposed to mean red and blue. Obviously, there was no progress from this point without finding out what these blocks had in store. Mario's expression changed back into its gaunt appearance that he has had for the majority of the game. Knowing I had no other choice, I dauntingly hit the block that was black in appearance on the left. The fish swam around from its position in the top of us and began to tear off Mario's limbs. By this time, a group of fish had congregated around the entire scene. Their laughs were deep and short, registering as barks for the 8-bit sound processor. Mario's unable body wobbled as he bled out, spewing black across the red. When he finally died, the big fish began to laugh. After a couple of seconds, Mario's limbs regrew. With the blue block remaining, I hit it to get this all over with. Bubbles stopped coming from Mario's mouth. He cried out for help, but that only made the problem worse. He sucked in tons of water, his hands around his neck. His face began to grow from gray to blue in a matter of moments. He kicked and fought, but he only wore himself down. Getting angry, he began to incinerate random fish that had gathered in the crowd. The fish began to laugh louder. For every fish he killed, 2 more appeared in its place. After a while, he just gave up. I watched as Mario uttered his last gurgle on World 3. The blood whistle stabbing and taking him away. I saved and quit with haste. See you all tomorrow. June 10th, 2012. Campus police gave me a visit today. Apparently, one of you had reported my comments related to suicide and claimed I was insane. As a result, I have eliminated all personal information from this blog. I located the person who reported me and IP banned him. I also have an IP tracker, so don't any of you try that. Speaking of followers, 50,000? I'd never expected this page to accumulate this many active viewers. Wherever this popularity or notoriety came from, I am grateful. Now for today's gameplay. After today, I'll be lucky to finish the game. Princess Toadstool's letter appeared after the previous screen from World 3 faded out. She was squirming and shifting around. Bowser's hand covered her mouth and nose, but it was easy to see the fear in her eyes. They darted left and right in stark, true fear. Bowser continued to have that sadistic smile on his face as he struggled with her. After about a minute and a half, Peach began to change. Her eyes grew an ominous red as she pushed Bowser's arm away with inhuman strength. She cackled like a loon, blue veins bulging so noticeably that they were clearly visible through her white satin gloves. Bowser then began to cower in timidity. The text on the letter said only this: "Blood whistle, hear its cry. Peach." The letter scene was abruptly cut off and the World 4 level select map was brought into view. Goombas and Koopas of all sizes appeared, furious and hungry as ever. This addition made sense. This was the giant tiny world. The shown enemies would be dimensioned as such. The normally green grass was withered and dead. The small patches of water were blood. Mario still was in the fireball fatigues that he donned in World 3. When compared to other worlds, the map view for this one was vastly less disturbing. I would go as far as to call this tolerable. Mario moved towards 4-1 into whatever nightmarish scenario this stage had to offer. The stage had the unusual kinks of any level in this game. The sky was black, which made the white clouds vibrantly contrast. A reversed version of the ground level once again played. The wood, as if it had been before, was decaying and wasting away beneath Mario's feet. The pipes were faded and cracked in various places. All of the enemies still possessed the same carnivorous looks of their inter-game counterparts. There was, oddly enough, a startling abundance of them. Koopas and Goombas danced around in ritualistic manner. Mario was visibly petrified as he tried to avoid them, my arrow keys keeping them inches away from his life. Amidst all of the din, there hovered a solitary power-up block. It was regular in appearance. Nothing was outwardly off about this, which greatly surprised me. Not knowing what horrid item it contained, I bumped it in blind vain. That maybe it could help me. You can most likely infer from the intonation I made in the preceding paragraph that I was completely mistaken. What appeared next is what I dreaded. That damn whistle. It was sitting there, blood washing over it as it rose from the yellow square. It sat there almost beckoning my name with the imposing enemies. I knew I had no other choice. I took the weapon from its place, fruitlessly hoping for the best, readily expecting for the worse. readily expecting the worst. The on-screen foes ceased all activity. Their faces returned to a neutral blank state. 5 minutes they stood in place like this, not moving a muscle. I jumped around and tried to kill them, but to no avail. It's almost as if they were frozen within the confines of time itself. As if for specifically them, all interstellar and physical continuity came to a careening halt. Then they began to move. After the first couple had did it, I realized what truly was going on. This was a mass suicide. Most of them just jumped in the nearest hole, but others performed incredible feats of acrobatics and medical possibility. One Koopa was bashing his head in on a pipe. Another Goomba jumped 6 or 7 times his own height, turned around in the air and sent blood flying everywhere with great splat. Soon all of the enemies were dead. Their remains were spontaneously upchucked from the trench below. A grisly mixture of guts and gore littered the entire remainder of the level. Mario shuffled through the remains, horrified with tears streaming on his face throughout. Random, deep, bassy tones played with nothing else to accompany. Realistic, squishy sounds were emitted every time Mario took a step in the scattered carnage. He continued to cry for the duration of the level. The whistle faded into view and followed Mario a few inches above his head, like a pestilential virus. That's a big word for Elmo. After he cleared it, of course, the whistle went straight through his chest as Mario was headed to World 5. The game has a habit of putting me where it needs me to be, so I closed the window without saving. Witnessing all of that death really racked my nerves. Sure, it might be a game, but with the things this game has had to present to me, I'm starting to lose my perception of reality. I'm starting to wonder to myself what is real and what is inside the computer. These two things are quickly fusing into one. The lines, they're blurring. Pretty soon the days will start fading together, and by then I'll have lost all sense of reality. I hope to see you all tomorrow. I don't know how much longer I can put up with this game. No, it's not a game. I couldn't tell you what this is. What is going on? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. See, nothing is happening. Mario gets taken to a world of blood and guts, and then there's blood and guts, and then he gets taken to the next world of blood and guts. It's pretty crazy, right? Pretty innocuous loop, if you ask me. Nice solid gameplay loop. I don't see too much repetition. Long ass creepypasta, longer than the Bible. June 11th, 2012. What? Wow. Today being D-Day fits. June 11th, 2012. Today being D-Day fits because I'm fighting one hell of a war against this game. And losing at that. At least there are no more mishaps with you all so far, which puts me at rest. As of today's gameplay, I fear for my own life. I feel as if something is coming after me, lurking, seeking me out, as to make immediate my demise. Never before has anything like this ever happened. Never before has anything electronic made me truly afraid, truly scared. I most likely will get no sleep tonight. Nothing in particular occurred, it's just... You'll find out below. Mama, just goon the man. I'm not singing the rest of that. Okay, good night. Sleep tight, chat member. You're Gloomy's friend. Good night. I was in the middle of the cloud portion of World 5. Everyone say good night to them, by the way. Do that right now, or else. I was in the middle of the cloud portion of World 5. The sky theme played, except it was drastically slow and demonic whispers were clearly audible. The whispers were almost the same as the ones I heard back in World 2. Mario was outfitted with the Tanuki suit, which naturally suited the environment. There was nothing there except two things, a red dot and a card game. The card game icon looked similar enough to its regular game clone. Oh, fucking earthquake going on. Awesome. 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 Keep going. Keep it going. Yep, keep going. Okay, you done? This is the best part about living in the basement is that you get to hear everything that happens upstairs. Everything! Anyway. The card game icon looked similar enough to its regular game clone, except the spades rolled across a red background instead of a blue one. Now, for whatever reason, I was allowed to choose which path to take. I chose to do the card game, hoping it would serve as some sort of reprieve from all the madness. That was not the right choice. Toad didn't explain the rules of the game like normal. Instead, I was plunged into the rolling slots. Beside the slots was a risky scenario. Toad was on a guillotine. No! Toad was on a guillotine. He looked at the camera with timid, teary eyes. He also was vigorously shaking his head. He shook his hands in a futile effort to free himself from this appalling apparatus, but nothing came of it. This guy really likes his what's it called? Alliteration. Appalling apparatus. I mean, you gotta go earlier to see the other stuff. But I've slowly been kind of noticing this guy really likes to put words of the same letter together a lot. And you know, it's a good rhetorical device, all things considered, but or not rhetorical device, a literature or a rhetorical device. No, a literature. Oh my god. I'm taking writing 2010 next semester. How am I gonna survive? You know what I mean. It's a good writing device, but at the same time, you know, overuse can overstay its welcome. Let's go gambling! I forgot where I was. Toad didn't explain the rules of the game like normal. Instead, I was plunged into the rolling slots. Okay, right, I read that paragraph. Appalling apparatus, but nothing came of it. The entire picture engulfed me so much I didn't even notice the slots. I cautiously pressed them, trying to get as best as I could to line them up given the stress of the situation. I failed and had to pay the personal price. The blade fell with breathtaking speed. Toad was beheaded right there and then. His head did a couple of spins in the air before landing in a conveniently placed nearby basket. The initial spins flayed blood across the white room. Blood filled the basket and filled it up. What? Blood filled the basket and filled it up. Yeah! No kidding! What grade am I in? I'm a sophomore in university. Going into sophomore year, that is. The blood filled the basket and filled it up. Toad's body spraying blood from the stump where his head used to be. Out of nowhere, the blood whistle came down and struck his torso. The scene faded out and back to the map. I was moved to the only remaining destination in World 5. Silent lighting streaked across the licorice black sky. Gray clouds and Mario were the only other consistently visible things as far as everything goes. Excuse me. As far as everything goes, silhouettes of winged demons flew and danced in the background. I tried turning into the stone structure the Tanuki suit is so famous for, but it failed. No music played at all. None at all. The demons could be heard whispering in what sounded like a variety of languages. Spanish, German, Latin were the most prevalent ones. A primal fear of the unknown gripped me as I blindly navigated the level. Judging by the look on Mario's face, it plagued him also. This stemmed from childhood, which made it all the worse. I not only felt like Mario was in danger, I felt like my livelihood was in danger, my well-being. At that moment, one of the demons swooped down. I would say the most accurate way to describe this creature would be a miniature Cthulhu. Its claws plucked out Mario's eyes, making them profusely bleed. He unleashed an ephemeral, yet bone-chilling cry. After the searing pain relented, Mario trudged on. His face was now void of any and all expression. It was because he knew, as well as I did, that he would be torn apart, brutally and slowly. But it would happen. After a few more seconds, the second demon came. It was identical in appearance to the first. It swooped down with grim, black bat wings and did its portion of damage. After it was said and done, the thing had torn Mario's arms off. Mario stopped dead in his tracks. He sobbed loudly, knowing the worst was yet to come. I felt so sorry for him that the words escaped me. He continued with a morose look. His normal walk slowed to a shuffle. Not a few seconds after that, the final solitary specter came down. He did his work with one big slash. Mario was now without his legs, and his lump of a body sat there. He sadly wept in utter despair. He knew the end was near. He turned to me and choked out this. I'm sorry you had to witness this. Everything. Those were his last spoken words on World 5 before a gaggle of Hell's minions descended and tore apart what remained of him. His entrails were liberally exposed as they regurgitated in their cruel feast. When the dust cleared, a mere shell of him remained. All you could see of his open stomach were his open spine and back muscles. As I had predicted, the blood whistle came to transport him into whatever hellish situation it contemplated would be worse than the last. Consider it sheer luck if I make another post tomorrow. If I do, it may be my last. Mario after getting killed. Sorry you had to see all of that. I just want to remind you guys that this is all within Super Mario Bros. 3. So Mario, when he's losing his arms, he's losing like 8 pixels worth of his sprite. And yet it's in such vivid detail, in like such wax poetic, it's like embarrassing. Just the fact that all of that description just to describe like 8 or 10 pixels being taken off of his sprite. Just saying. June 12th, 2012. I'm starting not to care anymore. I am in the throes of such a severe depression, it's all starting to fade away. Everything, school, friends, family. It's safe to say this game is single-handedly ruining my life. Such sadness has never become me ever before in my life. My grandfather died when I was young, but that didn't close to equate what I'm feeling now. It's a direct result of the level that I played today, which I'll get right into. Yahoo! World 6 appeared. Ice was everywhere. This was the one part that correlated to the unaltered version. Nothing else did. The ice was none other than frozen, realistic blood. Of course, yeah! Crystallized pieces of crimson droplets bordered the ice blocks. Blood filled in the small pockets of water that were... Move aside, Gramps. Dying Mario is speaking. Blood filled the small pockets of water that were... Of course, there was only a solitary dot on the map. Mario entered it, and before I knew what... Mario entered it, and I knew that whatever was to pass would be tenfold of what had already happened. Pure sable white was the only thing that constituted of the backdrop. Blocks of blood ice served as a slippery ground. Mario slid along as I controlled him. He appeared happy, overjoyed, might be more accurate. Here he had nothing to deal with, just him and the open space. 5 minutes passed, then 10. All the way through, Mario was happy, as I'd let him run around and fly. He had regained the raccoon tail, so... It seemed like he had all the time in the world. The clock ticked, and all seemed right in the game. Making my way through the level, I found out it had no end. Time, oddly enough, would turn out to be the ultimate enemy. At the 20-minute mark, a tempest began to pick up. A flurry of snow and wind ensnared Mario, and he now began to curl his tail. His teeth chattered and his body shook. Another reminder, these are the Super Mario Bros. 3 sprites. His teeth chattered with the, 4 pixels that his teeth are, that he doesn't have. He doesn't have teeth. There's not a single Mario sprite with his teeth out. He soon had to sit down. Mario and I soon figured out how the game planned to snuff him out this time, with ice and time. He sat and tried to heat himself. This, needless to say, was a less than feeble attempt. Nothing but the creepy bass beats from World 5 played. Mario's skin soon began to turn a light blue. Nevertheless, he still sat and brooded in the icy cold. Mario Odyssey has teeth. I meant 2D Mario. Anything before Super Mario Bros. DS, I guess. Where was I? Nevertheless, he still sat and brooded in the icy cold. It was then that the utmost feeling of sadness had encapsulated me. I couldn't fathom my sympathy. I couldn't begin to describe how bad I felt at the fact that his death was absolutely inevitable, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Just simply watch in shock and dejected awe. Frostbite soon took his hands. 10 minutes after that, World 6 Mario was no more. Just a frozen block of a man, sitting there in the middle of an infinite winter wilderness. After the sadness came feelings of sheer loneliness. I felt abandoned and alone, just like Mario sitting in the middle of that ice field. I felt as if no one would save me from the torture of this game. The blood whistle came down and made a chunk sound as it impaled his chest, taking him to the next level of hell. I closed the emulator window like always and ended this self-subjected torture. I will bring myself to play this game tomorrow, but mark my words, I'll play the last tomorrow. And then this blog will, hopefully, live on in my memory, so my tribulation can be seen by the world. Be here. Same time, same place. June 13th, 2012. It is ironic indeed that today is June the 13th. The unlucky number, the unlucky day. I suppose today isn't completely horrible. Today is the last day I had to play this wretched game. This horrifyingly absurd remake of whatever I used to see as a wonderful game will soon be out of my life, along with everything else. With this being the last post, I suppose I can finally be honest about my true intentions ever since I finished World 2. I'm going to take my own life. This game has caused me sorrow on such an ineffable level that there is no other option. Life will never be the same. Mom and Dad, I love you. Michael and Kelsey, you guys be good. Listen to Mom and Dad. They have a lot of valuable lessons to teach you. Lessons that I learned but can now never apply again. Now, for what you 75,000 people reading this post came for, the rest of the game. Hell itself is what the game brought me to. I suppose that this was intentioned to convey World 8. No, not hell. Worse than hell. Bodies were chained up in the background, enduring a myriad of tortures. The only pain wasn't strictly felt from injuries, though. The coughs, dying wheezes, and vomiting in the background reeked of pestilence and suffering. Fires emblazoned certain people as well. The flames had an actual burning quality to them. Not like regular 8-bit fire. Flesh, eyes, and other internal organs and tissue constituted the walls and ground. If the hell I'm certainly going to exists, I think it looks something like this. Mario stood before a possessed Princess Toadstool. Her dress was ripped in several places and splattered with blood. Her eyes gleamed red, the flames casting an evilly maniacal allure to her appearance. Bowser and his 6 sons were tied to wooden poles with terrified looks on their faces. Wendy, for some reason, didn't appear anywhere in this game. On one hand, Peach brandished a sizable dagger, and on the other, the blood whistle. She walked over to Bowser and looked him in the eyes. Technical limitations slightly hindered the interpretation of what events passed, but it was easy enough to understand what was going on. Through his gag, Bowser pleaded with her not to harm him. She brought the knife close to him and he froze up. He was obviously paralyzed with fear. Her mouth got close to his ear and text rolled along the bottom of the screen, conveying the text of what played out given the sound limitations. This is what enabled Mario to speak in the past. Well, that explains a lot. That would have been nice to have known earlier. That Mario wasn't actually speaking this whole time. I didn't need to make the Mario impressions. It was text scrolling the whole... You know, maybe if you... if you would have mentioned that the first time Mario started speaking, or anything started speaking... Shh, she whispered. Bowser's innards spilled onto the floor in a great heap. He let out a monstrous 8-bit roar of pain as this happened. Peach laughed, her red eyes reflecting whatever evil had possessed her. The princess proceeded to eviscerate all 6 of his sons. Mario did nothing but look on in horror as his mortal enemies were torn apart by a woman he had once loved very much. His face soon contorted into one of loathing. He had come all this way to find out the very girl he wished to save had been taken over by an extraterrestrial evil. An evil that would not only haunt Mario, but me as well. This sort of evil that doesn't go away when you turn off the game. The kind of dark force that follows you to your bedchambers and steals your soul. Princess Toadstool paused for a couple of seconds, then came at Mario with the knife. Which Super Mario game is this? It's supposed to be Super Mario Bros. 3, but so much garbage has happened that it's really hard to even parse out that this was supposed to be Mario 3 in the first place. The author kind of just goes wax poetic on every single explanation of happenings that he kind of forgets that this is a video game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It sucks too, because this guy is like at least fairly decent at writing and making it interesting. That's probably why so many people latched onto this creepypasta, but at the same time, it's so frustrating. And so many, like, points in the story, I'll get to it later. She came at Mario with the knife. "Hey there, Mario," she said as she toyed with the knife. "They got a little sharp with me, so I pushed them over the edge." I tried to move Mario, but nothing happened. He stood there, afraid of what she would do. She brutally slashed open his arms, legs, and abdomen. Shortly thereafter, the princess produced some salt? What? Shortly thereafter, the princess produced some salt from her billowing dress and sprinkled it all over him. He screamed again, unmoving. The Princess Peach you used to know is long gone. The power of the blood whistle consumed that girl and made way for me. And speaking of which, she continued as she produced the blood whistle. Here it is. Hear its cry. With a mocking kiss on the cheek, she began to play Mario the perverse song of the blood whistle. Its notes rotted away the last reserve of good in me. He was heaved by an invisible force into the flames. He cried out as they consumed him. Peach chucked the whistle, making it strike him directly in the heart. He continued to wallow in utter anguish as she walked away. As she laughed, he looked into my eyes and bore me this parting message via the text at the bottom of the screen. Do not let your life be as painful as mine was. I'm not doing the Mario impression. Because Mario's not speaking. I don't care. I'm not doing the Mario impression. Do not let your life be as painful as mine was. Do not hold reservations against you, as you tried your best to keep me alive. I commend you for that. Goodbye, Bradley, and good luck. The tune of the blood whistle continued to play as the screen panned out of Mario's hell. How he knew my name is Bradley continues to befuddle me. How he could have such depth, such personality. I don't know whether this is a result of the game being as haunted as it truly is, or the fact that someone could have been captured inside of this ROM. Whatever the reason of this, of everything that has come to pass with this abomination, I'm glad I'm finally done. I've made all of my goodbyes at the very beginning of this post. I hope one of you takes the time to save this blog, or at least to show the world this true hell I've put myself through. I sure hope that the demented creator of this game isn't festering in the same hell I'm headed for. Goodbye, everyone. Aftermath. This blog was the last recorded statement of Bradley before his death. His roommate discovered him 4 hours after he made the last post. Bradley committed suicide using a recorder that he plunged through his trachea. God. Finally. And you know what? After all that time, the music ended. It was so long that the music track ended. It couldn't handle it anymore. Oh, after that whole speech that Mario gave about, you know, don't let your life be as painful as mine. Do not hold reservations against you. You tried your best. Good luck, Bradley. Oops! Kills himself. What? What are you doing? You've gone against the word of Mario. Are you stupid? You never go against the word of Mario. That's not a thing that you do. Oh my god, it's really bad. It feels... I want to say it feels competently written, but it kind of doesn't. It almost feels like because the storytelling sucks. That is not competently written. The storytelling is just Mario goes through 8 worlds of he dies and sees gore and guts, and then gets taken to the next world where the exact same thing happens. And then the dude, like, kills himself at the end, for some reason. Then... So, you know, really shallow storytelling. But the author uses a lot of, like, big language and wax poetic. I've used that term a lot, but it's really, there's no other way to really tell it how it is, but the way it kind of really sounds like he's refurbishing the same stuff that he's said from earlier, just like ran through a thesaurus. It kind of really frustrates me. Hopefully this author learned from this story and has made better stuff in the future, because, you know, everyone deserves a writing career at the end of the day, and everyone's gonna start with something. But man, the fact that people took this and ran with it, and it's just so bad, it's laughable, honestly. Eloquently spoken trash script, that's what I'm saying. Ran through a what? A thesaurus. It's like a dictionary, but you look up a word and it'll give you alternate words that have a similar definition. But, you know, that was Blood Whistle, and I'm glad to be finally done with that. I really want to do more creepypasta readings. I thought that was really fun, and that didn't really take too much time. I could make these like really short, honestly. I could do like maybe 3 or 4 if I wanted to. Just have it like be a really short, like 2-hour stream. Or, you know, I could pull another 7-hour creepypasta grab bag length stream where it's, you know, long as shit for no reason. But, you know, we'll see when we get there. The next semester's coming up, so I've got to figure out some stuff. Hopefully, though, I will still have the time to, you know, do a few more streams before the school schedule really starts to hammer in on me. This Mario game made Mario go through traumatic experiences. I better die, because Mario said being sad made me sad. Yeah. Oh well. But hey, first stream back in a while. I'm hoping to do more stuff like this. Last time I did a poll, I asked if you guys wanted to see some of this, or if you wanted to see me do a playthrough of the entire Sonic campaign. Like, every single Sonic game. That will take me a while, but I feel really dedicated to do that. And I may take some shortcuts. I may do like stuff like I'll play Sonic 3 Air instead of Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Or, just, you know, quality of life stuff. It's like playing Sonic Unleashed on the Xbox versus playing it on the Wii. One is great, and one sucks utter dog shit, you know? But otherwise, maybe I'll do some of that, and maybe I'll find some other stuff to do. I said I'd play more Friday Night Funkin' on stream. There were a couple cool mods that you guys recommended to me, and it's been good getting to, you know, bring my fingers back to use after not having used them for something as technical as rhythm games for a really long time. Will you please play Sonic and Secret Rings? Astro, why must you torment me so? Maybe. Maybe. Well, yes, if I'm gonna be playing every single Sonic game, well, every single mainline Sonic game, every big title Sonic game that was released on a console, which includes stuff like Sonic Advance, Sonic and the Secret Rings, what was the other Sonic Wii game? Dunk, I remember when you were big in the FNF stuff. I've been watching you since 2020, wow! I remember when you released the EP. Damn. That's awesome. Well, it's good to see you here still. Here's to another year. That's crazy. You knew me before I was a twink. Sonic Labyrinth? We'll see. That doesn't mean Sonic Playhouse. I'm not playing Sonic's Playhouse. Or Sonic's Schoolhouse, sorry. I will pick and choose and, you know, cherry pick which ones I think are deserving of like a quote-unquote mainline title, and I'll play those. I remember when you're long-haired orange hair guy, I thought that was what you would look like. Well, that is what I look like in real life. Well, kind of. I have more of the hairstyle you see on my bouncing guy right here. Nowadays, but the hair's still orange. It's always been, always will be. I don't think I have the courage to ever dye my hair. I don't need to, it's already a good enough color. But yeah, hey, wherever you come from, or however long you've been watching me, thank you for tuning into the stream, and if you're watching this later, if you're watching this as a VOD and you made it this far, then I love you. Thank you for watching this far. Thank you for, you know, supporting my channel and stuff. It always means a lot. I think I better go to sleep as soon as I can so I can get some good night's rest. Alright. I'll probably, you know, be lurking in the Discord for a little while and then I'll go to sleep. But you know what I mean. Alright. Okay, good night, everybody. Mwah. Boo.